Thank you for being here this early. You guys are great. You're a bunch of farmers to me for being here this early. I hate the mornings. Like Garfield hates Mondays. I hate Garfield too. But I'm not here to talk about hate. I'm here to talk about work. I've been called Raleigh's pop icon. I do cartoons, I do books, I do paintings, animation. I've worked with the Carolina Hurricanes, doing comic strips and animation for them. I helped start SparkCon here in Raleigh to get creative people together and get more creative stuff happening around here. Working on licensing my characters and other stuff, and then I'm starting to move into animation for web series. One thing about Raleigh's scene that's common is the bold designs, bold colors, simple, familiar, with a sense of humor. And I think Victor and Sarah over at Raleigh Denim, Bob Rankin, Holly Aiken, and Ashley Christensen all possess these common styles. So I get invited to dinner parties, and inevitably there'll be a doctor, a teacher, Navy SEAL, and I'm like, why am I sitting at this table? And I try to, remember that spoon is not a two-syllable word, and they introduce themselves and they get to me, and they're doing all these incredible things, and so they ask what I do, and I have to say, I do pretty pictures. And they'll say, you mean like cartoons? And that's all they want to talk about. And I'm like, you're a surgeon. The guy had guts spilling out, and you took 23 feet of small intestines, and you folded it back inside, and you know where the kidney goes, and the liver, and the appendix. And you're a teacher, you're teaching 13-year-olds, getting them to learn. And you're a Navy SEAL, you can hold your breath for 45 minutes underwater and fight terrorists with sharks strapped on their backs. And they say, well, anyone can do that. Anyone can learn how to do that. What you're doing is unique and imaginative and special. And sometimes I think artists forget that they're the only ones that are coming up with these ideas. And that is the art of creating. It's making something that no one else ever will. And then I'm reminded that there's 4 unique American contributions to culture, and that's democracy, baseball, jazz, and comic strips. And everything else stems from that. So that's the thing about cartoons, is they look easy, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. And the types of work, there's working hard, making it work, working out, work to live, work for the weekend, getting it to work, finding work, making it work, working on it, and just never ends. So my cliche that I use is that if I was working this hard for somebody else, I would hate it. And I work hard so I don't have to work for other people. And what you really, really want to do is to work smarter, not harder. And that's what I'm trying to do. And one way of doing this is what I call the rule of 1 for 3. I make one thing that is a crowd pleaser and sells and enables me to do 2 other things that I want to do. And I want to explore, I want to experiment, and then I go to something popular that people recognize, like Donkey Kong. So my regular work schedule, no matter how early I try, it usually starts around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it really gets going at 11. That's when I'm in my zone. And then I just work until I can't hold the pen or the paintbrush. And that's why I'm usually going to bed right about the time everyone else is getting up to go to work. In some ways, you know, I kind of miss having a job where there was a quitting time. So work makes work. The more I do, the more I have to do. The types of stuff I do is comic books, scripts, animation, painting, making merchandise like t-shirts or bumper stickers, and other stuff like you saw a poster for bands. I do CD covers, t-shirts, advertisements. And the work that has to happen for each of these to continue is the idea, the inspiration, then I make it, then I have to use social media or advertise or go to conventions and market the stuff and then sell the stuff so I can keep doing it. The work that goes into each project is create, cultivate, maintain it, grow it, continue to grow it into something new, and then repeat, start all over again. All the time, I'm working on developing my style and workmanship, and I never settle. I never coast and try never to be complacent, so keep pushing myself for perfection that's never going to happen. And that's how I developed this style of, I use a ballpoint pen and notebook paper, so I can draw anywhere, anytime, and it gives me this great line quality. But I'm also working on new techniques and new media and new technology, and you know, these things spill into each other. So I find balance between keeping my audience and fans and keeping them from coming back, but have to be open enough that new people can come back in, can discover it for themselves and become fans. So you have to keep changing, but you don't want to change too much, or else people will not like it anymore. And also work on education, learning new styles and methods, trying new mediums, and I can take something from painting and apply it to sculpture, and then I can take sculpture and apply it to t-shirt design. It takes research and practice, and I'm lucky because that means wasting time on the internet is actually education. Also, I work to uphold my reputation as an artist, try to dispel the artist stereotype and be dependable, meet deadlines, deliver on time, show up on time, and also exceed expectations. If it's a painting exhibition at a coffee shop, having the canvases not be warped is a big one. And then there's promotion, and that work means, you know, advertising and marketing and branding and expanding into new territories, using social media and conventions and festivals and stuff like that. And then the work that makes everything else work is, unfortunately, it takes up about 75% of my time, and that's paperwork. Emailing, taking care of the business, shipping orders, fulfilling them, and then 25% is what I would really want to be doing, which is drawing and just working on ideas. My process for work, it starts with an idea, and this is always used. The most interesting thing for people is, like, where do ideas come from? And they can come from anywhere. It can come from imagining a situation, such as what you wish you had said the night before is a perfect comeback. You'll never get that chance, but I can do a story and people can read that. I can mishear a song lyric. One of my favorites is listening to death metal songs and trying to figure out what they're saying. That way I came up with Bob Saget's steak sauce recipe, which they're singing about his secret recipe. It can also be creating a better ending to a movie. If I see a movie and I think they did it wrong, I fix it. Another great one is watching foreign TV shows. I was trying to teach myself how to speak Spanish and was only watching Spanish channels. and it wasn't working, and I was getting bored, and wound up making up my own stories to figure out what was going on. The soap operas are great for that. And also, like, another example is I was watching a gangster movie from the 30s, and they kept saying mobsters, like every sentence, everyone had to say mobsters. And I started replacing it with lobsters. And that's how I came up with Onion Head Monster for his villains was the mobster lobsters from Las Vegas. So you take any of those, you take one original idea, and it becomes one scene. And then I work on figuring out how they got to that moment. And then I figure out what happens next and how it ends. And that's usually the hardest part, is figuring out an ending, because every one of your stories can't be a big banquet celebrating the end of the story. And what Jonathan alluded to, a lot of my things that I do are basically the same as when I was 8 years old and I was playing with my action figures with my friends. Only now that's not really socially acceptable for me to sit around in the backyard playing with toys. So I use the cartoon characters, and I'm making up stories. And when I create, the key is to be stupid. Stupid people take chances. They succeed because they don't realize they can't. And the example I always use is 9 out of 10 restaurants fail in the first year, so why would any smart person start a restaurant? But everybody does, and because one person is one of those restaurants that's going to succeed. So take chances and try. My process, the trick is to put the work into it to make it not look like it's work. Something like those take me an hour or two, and you can look at it in 7 seconds, and you're done. So I write the story, and I reject probably 90% of my own ideas. I'm really hard on myself, so I can rewrite it 20 times. It becomes really complicated, I simplify it. It becomes complicated again, and I simplify it. I break it down into pages. I break those down pages into panels. I storyboard the panels. I lay out the pages, and then I draw. And that's, again, all I want to do is draw. All this stuff is so I get to draw. So I do the drawings. I draw all the set designs. I draw backgrounds. I draw the characters. I draw maybe 100 Onion Head monsters so I can pick and choose which one I want. It's like shooting scenes for a movie. You take the best takes. Then I scan it into Photoshop in different layers, put it all together, and then I print it. I draw back on top of it, I fix some stuff, and I scan it back in, work on it some more, and then I assemble the pages in InDesign, and I print the book. The exception to all this is the man versus liver, the woman versus liver panels that you've seen. I reject all that work, and our rule is, it's a 5-minute rule. It's whatever you say, you put down. I've got a couple minutes to do a quick doodle, don't fix anything, scan it in, and that's it. And that's become, I've been working on that with Neil Henson, and that's become our most successful project that either one of us has ever worked on. So the lesson, again, is don't try hard. But then from each story, I'm able to extract panels, such as those that I use for prints and posters, paintings, t-shirts, and stickers. And the results of this work, of this convoluted process, makes the end result deceptively simple. Like something like that would take me an hour or so to figure out exactly where I want the Pac-Man to be. And again, people look at it for 3 seconds. But I like the results. And then since the story is done, by the time I'm putting all these together, I can edit as it's being made, but I can also think of new ideas for new stories and different projects I'm working on. So the thing I always tell myself is not to dwell, to make it and move on to the next project, because right now I've got about 5 books that are written and storyboarded that I need to do, and it'll take me probably a day to do 2 pages, so I'll never catch up. And then the most important thing is that it's your work. No one else is going to do it. If you don't do it, it's not going to get done. So, just keep doing stuff.